بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today I'm going to recite chapter 5 verse 32. And it runs من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون. For this reason, we prescribed for the children of Israel that whoever kills a person, unless it is for manslaughter or for mischief in the land, it is as though he had killed all humans. And whomsoever saves a life, it is as though he had saved the lives of all mankind. And certainly our messengers came to them with clear arguments. But even after that, many of them commit excesses in the land. Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. This week we had the Remembrance Day for Holocaust. And I want to look at the role of the Muslims in that Holocaust. We know that this is a day of remembrance for the genocide, for the killing of Jews in Germany before and during the Second World War. But I want to look at the role that Muslims played in it. People rightly remember the Jews who were murdered, but sadly no one remembers the Muslims. People don't even know the role that the Muslims played. So, Nazis' reach extended into North Africa through the Vichy regime in France and the German and Italian campaigns there. Hundreds of thousands of Muslim soldiers in the Soviet and British armed forces fought the Axis powers. And a number of Muslims were sent to Auschwitz and other Nazi concentration camps. This is hardly ever mentioned anywhere. The contribution of the Muslims to the war effort. We know some of the names of the Muslims. Ismail, whose concentration camp number was R9954. Nasruddin, R9955. Muhammad, R9959. Hassan, R9965. They were Soviets. Soviet soldiers who had confronted Hitler's armies. In February-March 1942, dozens of Muslims joined the thousands upon thousands of Abrahams and Sarahs and Isaacs and Rebeccas and Jacobs and Rachels, who together made up the 1.1 million men, women, and children killed in Nazi concentration camps and extermination camps in rural, and the extermination camp known in rural Poland as Auschwitz. No one knows about them, let alone remember them. And this is why I related the names of some of them, because they were all missed out. They were all missed out in the Remembrance Day events that were organized. But let's look at the role that Muslims played during the Holocaust. Albania, a predominantly Muslim country, saved almost all of its Jewish population. The survival rate in the then Yugoslavian province of Kosovo was 60%, making it one of the areas with the highest Jewish population, highest Jewish survival rate. Albania was the only country, Muslim country, the only country in Europe in which at the end of the Second World War, there were more Jews than lived before the Second World War. Before the Second World War, there were only 200 Jews in Albania out of 800,000. But after the war, there were many, many more Jews who were refugees from many European countries who fled Nazi persecution and sought shelter. Let me name one, Rafiq Vasily. Most of the 2,000 Jews of Albania were sheltered by the mostly Muslim population. Rafiq was 17. He took in the family of Musa and Gabriela Mendel, including their 5-year-old son Gavra and his sister Irene. They were refugees from Belgrade, but originally from Novi Sad, for whom he had been working as an apprentice in their Tirana photographic shop. When the Germans took over from Italians, he took them and another Jewish family. They walked all night to get to his family village, where they were protected by his parents until the war came to an end. And we are not talking about a day or a week or a month, 9 months. If they had been discovered at any time, then the Muslims would have been shot by the Nazis as collaborators. His example inspired his whole village to risk their lives in order to protect the Jews. On receiving Gavara Mendel's request for them to be recognized as righteous, there is a concept in Judaism of righteous among the people living, who are not necessarily Jews. So these people that they saved, they sent in a request for them to be recognized as righteous. The authorities of Yad Vashem inscribed both Rafiq and Drita Vasily in 1988 among the righteous. But the story only became known in 1990. And listen to this. Many survivors told stories of how their Albanian hosts competed with each other for the privilege of offering sanctuary and protection. And why did they do that? Why did they do that? They vied for the privilege of offering sanctuary because it was an Islamic ethical obligation for a Muslim to protect those who are being persecuted. Since that date, a further 50 Albanian Muslims have been registered amongst the ranks of the righteous. King Muhammad V of Morocco. Morocco is French-speaking and the French ruled there, although he was a titular king. And they asked him for a list of Jews so that they could be killed. And his letter has become a historic document in which he said, I don't have any Jews and I don't have any Muslims in my country. I only have Moroccans. And he refused to identify the Jews amongst his population to the Nazis so that they could take them to Nazi concentration camps and kill them. It's amazing. Nazis controlled the whole of North America. Only 1% of Jews in North America died under the Nazis. How many died in Europe? 50% of the Jews died in Europe. Who protected these 99% of the Jews? Muslims. And this is never mentioned. 9/11 is mentioned. Bombings are mentioned. There's Ali Sakat. He was a government official and he retired and he bought himself a farm. And there was a labor camp near him. And he knew that Jews from the camp were beaten and so on. And there was an air raid, and one night, 60 Jewish laborers escaped. And they got to his farm, which had a wall, and they knocked on the door. What did he do? What did he do? He took them in. He fed them. He hid them until Tunisia was liberated. Khalid Abdul Wahab, he was a famous Tunisian historian. He was 32 when Nazis occupied Tunisia. And he used to act as an interpreter between the Nazis and local people of Mahdia, where he lived. And one day, he heard Germans talking about a particular woman and how they were Jewish woman and how they were going to go and rape her. And he ran. And he didn't just inform them and tell them to run away. He took that family and other families. How many? 1, 2, 3, 24. 24 Jewish families. He helped them to get to his farm, which was outside the town. And those families he hid for 4 months, feeding them out of his own pocket. Everyone knows about Schindler's List. Hollywood makes movies about Schindler and how he saved the Jews. What about this guy? 24 Jewish families. He helped them escape. He hid them in his house. He fed them for many months. In 2009, this is how long it took for the world to recognize the Muslim contribution to the fight against the Nazis. It was in 2009 that 2 trees were planted in his honor. One in Washington, D.C., in the Garden of the Righteous, and the other one was, I think, in Milan. Sheikh Tayyib al-Okbi, he was an Algerian. He founded the Algerian Islah or Reform Party. Although he died before Algeria was occupied by the Nazi forces, the Vichy forces, etc. But he discovered that the leaders of the pro-fascist group were planning a mass murder of the Jews. And they wanted to use Muslim troops What did he do? He got a fatwa, a religious decree, which said it was un-Islamic and unholy to help the Nazis kill the Jews. An Islamic decree saying Islam forbids such killing. Look at what he did in the light of the verse of the Holy Quran that I recited. And people compare him to some French bishops and archbishops who did the same thing. But all of this is never remembered. The Muslim suffering, of course, in terms of numbers, it wasn't as great. The Muslim contribution to the war effort. Who did the Indian army consist of? There were Sikhs and Hindus as well, but Muslims in large numbers. What about the Soviet army I mentioned? There were Muslims in it in large numbers. It's not even mentioned, not even remembered. And people accuse Muslims of ignoring the Holocaust or saying that it didn't happen and so on. But I think it was January last year that the American Jewish Committee, in partnership with the Muslim World League, brought together 62 Muslims and 20 Jews from 28 countries for a 2-day interfaith mission in Poland. The Jewish delegation was led by David Harris, President Harriet Schliffer, and Director of International Interreligious Affairs, Rabbi David Rosen. And it included the Chief Rabbi of Poland. The Muslim delegation wasn't led by just some non-entities. It was led by the Muslim World League Secretary General, Muhammad Al Isa, and included Director of Morocco's Royal League of Religious Scholars, Secretary General of the Egypt-based League of Islamic Universities, a former president of the Islamic Society of North America, and the Mufti of Poland, among others. Is it a deliberate attempt to tar Muslims with the brush of being terrorists and killers? Well, maybe it may not be deliberate, but I find it interesting that even when remembering the Holocaust Day, the people that we forget are the Muslims. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم، واقتل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واذكروه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.
Allahu Akbar, Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya salah, hayya falah. Qad qamatis salah, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا ولك الحمد.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله. اللهم أنت السلام تبارك يا رب. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. Our next broadcast will be Sunday morning at 9 a.m. in Urdu and at 9:30 a.m. UK time in English. Until we meet again, I pray that Allah keeps all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.